Today, I'm going to be looking at the Sofern IF22A. This is a classic thrower flashlight in the flashlight community, and I had to get my hands on one of these because the only other SFT40 flashlight I have is the Wurkos FC12, and I only just received that quite recently as well. Now, this one's quite interesting because you actually get a TIR lens, a 5-degree TIR lens included with this particular light. A lot of those throwy flashlights tend to just have large reflectors, but the difference with this one is that you have a smaller kind of TIR lens, so you can actually fit this one in your pocket. I think the head's quite large though, so we'll open it up, have a look. I think it's quite a unique light, and apparently it throws 690 meters, produces 2,100 lumens. From what I've seen in some of the videos, looks really impressive. So let's open it up, see what we get. I've not opened this up yet, so we'll see how I react to it. And I like how Sofern packages things with such simplicity and without fancy writing and all kinds of colors and stuff everywhere. So just a simple box. It's got their website and it's got the brand there on the front. So let's open it up and let's see what we get. So we've got the manual, we've got the lanyard and some of these O-rings, spare O-rings, a couple of O-rings in there. Got a spacer, that's got to be for the 18650 if you want to put one of those cells in there. Look at that, we've got a tail clip. Fantastic, and I love these tail clips as well. It's the same one that's included with the SP35. They're just so versatile. You can use it as a normal belt clip and also clip it onto the front of your hat as well. So kind of turns your flashlight into a makeshift headlamp. So I love that. Let's have a look. You've got the USB-C charger as usual. I'm collecting a lot of these nowadays, and I'm getting all these flashlights. And of course, the main attraction, here we have it, the IF22A. So look at that. Wow. And it reminds me of a lot of those, a lot of those old torches back in the 90s that had this sort of larger head and smaller body. It reminds me of a little version of that. It's got one of these buttons that actually look the exact same as the one on the SP35. That's the SP35 for comparison. And the only difference is that this one comes with some kind of retaining ring. It looks like a metallic retaining ring. And while we're at it, just move all this stuff out the way. I'm just going to do a quick little comparison, size comparison as well with some of these other flashlights. Let me take this off. So we've got the IF22A. Here we have the SP35. I mean, it's pretty much the same length as the SP35. It's just got a larger head there. So it might be difficult to fit in your pocket. It's possible, but I think I'll have to, if I put it in my pocket, I'll have to reverse the clip so that the head faces upwards and basically juts out of my pocket. But I think for the specs and the overall performance of this flashlight, it's really small. So here in comparison again is the Sofern SC31 Pro. So I'd say these are very similar, SP35 and the IF22A. If anything, the IF22A is probably almost has a slightly larger circumference here around the knurling, but there's really no significant difference there if you have a look at it compared to the 35. So let's have a look underneath the top of the flashlight as well. Let me put these other ones away. And here we have that TIR lens. Let's just get in that TIR lens here. Wow, look at that. And you know what? I think this is actually a layer of glass that they've put outside just over the top of the TIR lens. TIR lenses are normally made of polycarbonate, so it does scratch, but it's good that they have a little bit of glass over the top. And here's the IF25A for comparison. And one of the things I found with the IF25A is you can unscrew the top of the head, and there is a layer of glass on top that actually protects the TIR lens. So I think it's the same deal here. Just having a look at it, makes the same sort of high pitched sound when you flick it. So pretty sure there's a layer of glass on top as well, which is great considering the TIR lenses are made of polycarbonate. They will scratch. So it's a great little protective measure there. Let's try to open up the head. Can I get into it? I don't think so. No, I think it's glued on. So sometimes you can take them off after the flashlight's warmed up a little bit with the glue, but can't take that head off. Let's go ahead and open it up and take off that cap, tail cap. There we go. We've got a bit of insulation paper there. We've got the battery here, and it's the Sofern 21700 cell 5000 milliamp hour battery. I actually have one of these already that was included with my Sofern SP35. This one looks a little bit different though. It's got a kind of a ring on the end of the negative side. I don't know if you can see here, a bit of a ring around there, but it looks quite similar. Nice of them to include the battery. Even if you buy the battery separately, I think it's quite good value compared to if you just buy it separately from another store. So that's what it is. Let's see if the other side will okay, yep, I can take the entire tube off like that. Okay, fantastic. And that was a little interesting. Imagine if it was only this big. Mini thrower. So so far I'm pretty impressed with the construction. I'm going to put it back together. Sofern uses very simple designs with their flashlight, sort of tried and tested designs, and I tend to find that the anodization as well is the same across the board. It's that same slightly glossy anodization. You know, it's nothing super special, but certainly does the trick. And even the knurling, look at that. It's just, you know, it just looks like a classic kind of torch. And I don't like torches that are just too gaudy or too out of place with all their colors and stuff as well. So this works just fine for me. You've got these little cooling fins around the head as well. Let's press that down. Wow, okay. Feels quite similar to that SP35. The button, I think, is made of aluminium as well. You've got a little LED in the center that it also indicates when the battery is getting low. So it'll be interesting to see how this performs, whether we actually get enough flood out of it as well. So what I'm going to do is charge this flashlight up. Going to go outside, do a bunch of beam shots, and I'll use a torch for a week and provide you with my final thoughts and observations. Alrighty, so I wanted to go through some final words and just some of my observations of this flashlight now that I've used it for a week, and also keep in mind that I have been using it in urban settings, so near the city, so lots of ambient light. You're going to get definitely more exaggerated results if you're out in the country, just areas where there's not so many street lights and things like that. The first thing that stuck out to me was the throw of this light. It's a super pocket thrower, and it throws way further than any of my SST40 lights, such as the SP35 and the SC31. Both contain SST40s, but they have a much more diffused sort of beam. So the only thing that beats it really is my Immelin MR90 with the SPD 90.2. But keep in mind, if you're getting one of those LEDs, you really need quite a large host due to all the heat that LED generates. With this particular flashlight, it does get hot on the head, but it certainly can handle the draw, and more importantly, it lasts for a considerable amount of time. If you have it on medium, it's going to last you a few hours. So I used it down alleyways, dark streets, and on buildings. I find that it really allows you to see quite far ahead, suss things out on the path, and that's something that I'm not really able to do with some of these SST40 flashlights or even the XHP 70.2 flashlights, which have more of a diffused, floody kind of beam. Now this does generate a bit of flood as well, but it's definitely not as noticeable. I did find that I couldn't remove the head on mine. Some reviewers have been able to remove the head, but apparently according to the manual that does void the warranty, so you want to be careful with that. I just wanted to have a look and see what the TIR lens and what everything under the hood look like. So another thing I find myself doing is that I stand this torch quite often on the head because it's just so stable. When I look at some of my other lights like the SC31 Pro, fantastic little light, but I know if I nudge that table accidentally or sort of hit the torch slightly, it's gonna fall over. So I feel a lot more comfortable putting this torch upright like that. Of course, I leave it on the side as well, and with the tail clip it doesn't move around, which is fantastic. So it feels very stable. So one of the interesting things I noticed was that this light is actually brighter on a Samsung 30 or 40T cell, and that's compared to the included 5000 milliamp hour Sofern cell. I'm going to do some tests later and see if it does make a difference if I discharge the cells maybe 25%, see whether they start evening out in terms of light output. But certainly on fully charged cells, and I did a separate video on this as well, I did find the Samsung 30 and 40T to be significantly brighter. So this was interesting. I know One Lumen did a review of this light, and they found that the throw numbers, the measured throw numbers that they recorded, were a bit short of the 121,000 candela that was quoted by Sofern for this light. So I think by using a 30T or a 40T with this flashlight, you're probably going to get some better throw figures, and I'm confident you could meet or even exceed those benchmarks that Sofern published. So I did use the ceiling bounce test to determine that the 30 and 40T were in fact brighter. You could even just see from looking at the hotspot that it was brighter with the 30 and the 40T. And makes sense considering that this flashlight contains a FET driver that apparently you can get the highest draw from a fresh battery, especially if you've got a battery that has a high draw capacity. Another thing that I thought would be good to note as well was that the cells charged to approximately 4.15 volts according to my multimeter. So I've charged a few different cells, including the stock one. I had a 4000 milliamp hour Sofern branded cell, and a couple of the Samsung's 30 and 40T cells, as I mentioned before. So good, because I think having a flashlight that charges over or too near to that 4.2 mark, it's definitely getting a little bit dangerous, and was something that was also noted in a review model that One Lumen received. So good that Sofern's addressed that. So let's talk about some of the pros. Now, this flashlight has a really nice construction and anodization. It uses 6061 aerospace grade aluminium hard anodized type 3 as well. So you can see the anodization. It's not exactly shiny, but it's not matte black as well. It's very kind of balanced out anodization. The threads are square cut, so really nice. You don't get any of that grittiness when you are unscrewing or screwing that tail cap back on, with generous amounts of thread as well on the connector areas. I found that it has really nice smooth ramping. All of my Sofirn lights, I find that they ramp at just that right speed, not too fast, not too slow. Having a look a little bit closer, you can just have a look at the finish on the flashlight, okay, and you can see there's not even a nick on the light. Just very, very well constructed. I like how they used a conservative design as well. I do find with Sofirn flashlights, they have very practical designs. Even the knurling, quite basic as you can see here, but tried and tested, and it certainly works. Another good thing I've noticed is that it lasts quite long on turbo without ramping down. It lasts about a couple of minutes before it starts ramping down considerably. So that's something I really like, because turbo mode is probably my most commonly used mode on these flashlights. I don't know, I just like turning them on and having that wow effect. And I think that's really important for me, because with these thrower lights, if they start ramping down too quickly, they're just not going to be able to throw as far anymore. So what's the point? I love the beam profile. It's a beautiful smooth beam with these smoothed off edges, no rings. And that's something that I guess I've been so used to. I mean, just having normal reflector lights, getting used to those rings to the point that I don't even see them. But this has just a really, really beautiful beam profile. And yeah, it's a pleasure, certainly a pleasure to use. It's also a little bit smaller than its brother, the IF22, which comes with a reflector and very similar specs. So you know, if you have a light that's a little bit smaller but it produces the same lumens and has the same runtime, you know, why not? That's definitely a bonus on my side. So another thing I wanted to confirm as well is that there is actually a glass lens here that protects the TIR lens underneath, which is made of polycarbonate. I think that's a really important thing to mention, because if you get that lens underneath scratched, then that's really going to degrade the light quality and transmission. So really don't want that to happen. Another good thing is that this light has moonlight mode, so it's practical. You can use it at night without blinding yourself. Bi-directional clip, use it on your hat as well. Now, I don't know if you'd actually put this on your hat. It is a fairly heavy torch for its size. Funny kind of balance as well. It's a little bit heavier on the head due to the front of the flashlight, but it's still definitely an option. You could use it as a makeshift headlamp. And for those who want a simple all-in-one solution, it comes with a battery clip charging cable, has a lanyard, some spare O-rings as well, and a 2-year warranty. So you really can't go wrong when you purchase this flashlight. So and it does have a power bank functionality as well. There's a few cons I wanted to talk about as well. I found that the head of the light was slightly cumbersome. So yeah, definitely putting it in your pocket, you need to face it upwards. And if you face it upwards this way and just clip it on the edge of your pocket, you're going to be fine. But putting it in the other way, that's definitely a no-go. It's going to feel very uncomfortable. So you need to have a bit of it kind of jutting out the pocket. But even having it out of your pocket, I do find that it's quite comfortable. It's still fairly discreet, but obviously is not going to be as discreet as a smaller flashlight like this one, the Sofirn SC31 Pro. But you're not going to get that amazing throw that you get on this one here. Another thing I wanted to mention is that you need to ramp this light up quite significantly to get some generous spill. And I found that I needed to ramp this up to about medium outdoors, and that gives me just enough spill to see what's going on in front of me, at the sides. And of course this depends on the area that you're in. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, I live in an urban area, so there's lots of ambient light, so any kind of flood that this would produce, it's going to get drowned out by all that ambient light. But definitely if you're in a very dark area, I've tested this in a dark room, if you're on the medium setting with this flashlight, produces more than enough spill for a dark area. It's hard when doing the beam shots. The camera doesn't pick it up so well, but you can definitely see it. Those are basically all my observations and my pros and cons. So I recommend this light if you're looking for something a bit different from those floody lights that you get with most of these EDC lights. They don't produce all that much throw. So this is, for me, almost like a bit of a novelty, but at the same time it has just enough flood to become practical. So I recommend this light if you are looking for something a little bit different from all the floody EDC lights that you get. There's a lot of these SST20, SST40 lights out there. The SFT40 is made for throwing and certainly functions very well in this flashlight and produces enough flood as well so that it makes it practical. So if you have any questions about this light, let me know in the comments. I've also put a link in the description. It's an affiliate link if you'd like to purchase this light. I'd love to hear what you guys think of my review. If you have any questions, if you found this video helpful and you want to see some more reviews, make sure that you like the video and subscribe.